studios of the MetroNews Radio Network in Morgantown, this is West Virginia's premier sports talk show.
From Weirton to Welch, Martinsburg to Matewan, and all points in between, this is the Northside Automotive Statewide Sportsline.
Tonight's show is brought to you by Northside Automotive, Route 19 in Summersville. We'll beat the advertised price of any other dealer in the state, guaranteed. Now here's your host, Tony Caridi.
Hi, everybody. Good evening to you, and welcome in Monday edition of the Northside Automotive Statewide Sportsline, this second day of our month of November. Thanks so much for being with us. We have a great deal of stuff to get into here tonight on the program. I'm joined in studio by the Senator, Brad Howe. And coming up on the show tonight, we're going to be talking Mountaineer football with MetroNews' Alan Taylor. His take as West Virginia puts the TCU game to bed and pulls the sheets back on the Texas Tech game, which will take place on Saturday at high noon. Many had thought that we would know today when the West Virginia-Texas game would be played a week from this Saturday. Sorry, we don't. ESPN has used its 6-day window, which means that we won't know as to what time that game will go between the Longhorns and the Mountaineers until this weekend. Each network, ESPN and Fox, get 2 opportunities per season to use or invoke a 6-day window before they have to name a game time. And now West Virginia has fallen twice here to the 6-day window, once against Oklahoma State and now against Texas, so we'll know this weekend. Coming up on our show, as I said, Al Taylor, and then later in our program tonight, our weekly visit with former Mountaineer coach Don Nehlen. He'll join us. He was really good last week, in case you missed him. I mean, he was really, really good last week. He let us in on the secret to play calling in last Monday night's show. Good evening, Senator.
Good evening, Tony. How are you?
I'm well, and I'm unshaven, and so are you. You're unshaven. Real quick here, folks. If you're watching on our video stream, and I know a lot of you people are and do, we are not shaving for the month of November. Brad and I are 2 of 12 people from the company that aren't going to shave, and we're not going to shave because we want to gain awareness and raise money for the West Virginia Alzheimer's Association, and that's what we're going to do. So we're going No Shave November. There's a website that's set up that we encourage you to check out, and we encourage you to make a donation to. It's noshavewv.com. That's noshavewv.com. We'll talk more about that as the night goes on, perhaps, or as the weeks go by. But Alzheimer's is just a horrific disease that's impacting 40,000 West Virginians right now. That number is going to double by 2050. Over 100,000 people are caregivers to those suffering from Alzheimer's. That continues to grow. Of the top 10 causes of death, Alzheimer's is the only one that's continuing to grow. Think about that. Of the top 10 causes, Alzheimer's is the only one that continues to grow. So we need money for research. All the money will stay in West Virginia for the West Virginia Alzheimer's Association. Check it out, No Shave November. Actually, it's noshavewv.com is the web address. All right, man. So here we go. Where shall we go? We've got this wide expanse of things that we can get into. First off, West Virginia has been installed as a touchdown favorite to beat Texas Tech on Saturday. That's good. That's good news. Paul Meyerberg from USA Today came out this afternoon, and he said, okay, now that we've seen every team play for 2 months, let's re-rank the teams based on how they are right now, right? So he ranks Baylor 1, TCU 2, LSU 3, Clemson 4, then Ohio State 5. He has West Virginia coming in at 57. Mm-hmm. He ranks all 128. But the thing about that is this. The reason to bring that up is this. The only team above West Virginia that the Mountaineers still have on the schedule is Texas Tech this Saturday. Of course, that's home. They're ranked 49. Every other team that West Virginia has to play for the remainder of the season is below them in Meyerberg's rankings. I'm optimistic, as crazy as that sounds. I really, truly am. I think that this football team still has the chance, literally, to win the rest of its games. Not euphemistically, but literally, they could win the rest of these games. Why not, right? You're home to Texas Tech. You saw what they did on Saturday. They're a much better team on the home field than they are on the road. You can score. You can score, right?
You can score. That's an understatement.
You can score.
We might be able to score if I was quarterbacking.
You might be able to score if you were maybe not that far. But, I mean, Texas Tech, to this point, last two games, they gave up 63 to Oklahoma. They gave up 70 to Oklahoma State. On the road at Kansas, they did win 30 to 20. But they're a different deal. Now, they did win at Arkansas early in the season, but they're not as efficient, as most teams aren't. So anyway, point is, Texas Tech this week. Texas, who just got absolutely blindsided at Iowa State. Then Kansas, which basically is high-level intramurals. Face it, they are.
Correct.
Those poor buddies.
No argument.
I mean, they're
terrible.
And then Iowa State here. Why not? Right? Here. What's the probability Iowa State's going to win here twice?
Should be zero.
In two visits.
The probability should be zero.
Okay. And then at Kansas State. But by that time, if you win the four that I just mentioned, you got bounce. You're feeling good. Yes, I know. It could be Bill Snyder's last game. But, so my point is, they're all there right for you. So you could take 3 and 4. You can make 3 and 4, 8 and 4. You really can.
Not, I don't. Why are you trying to sell it? I mean, I feel like you're trying to sell it.
Well, I might not be selling it to you, but I just think obviously people are bumming out, and I'm just the way I'm looking at it. Having seen what we've seen, I think there's chances here.
Well, I'll be stronger. I don't think it's just chances, Tony. These remaining 5 opponents for West Virginia are 14 and 26 overall, and 6 and 19 in league play. So as difficult as the schedule was coming through October, right? What are those teams now? 30 and 1. As difficult as that stretch was, you now have opponents that are well below 500, 14 and 26 overall. So yeah, I think it's not even a can. I think you line up and say it should be the remaining 5. You're talking about some bad football teams still on this schedule for West Virginia.
You know what it's going to come down to? For those of you watching at home, you just saw me point to my head. For those of you listening, I just pointed to my head. This is all going to be about mental. This is all about the mental aspect of it. Really, truly is.
Well, I think that's why this week's so critical. Because we talk about this how often with confidence. And you can't fake the confidence. I mean, you can fake it externally, but you know inside. So this team's going to have some success and have to figure out how to win before it gets through the next 4. So coaches are going to tell you, this is the only game that matters. But Texas Tech really is. This is a gigantic, huge game, I think, for WVU in a lot of ways.
Agreed. We'll talk more about the Mountaineers with Alan Taylor in just a little bit. We'll talk more about the Mountaineers with Coach Nealon coming up in just a little bit. And time allowing, we'll get you some thoughts from Cliff Kingsbury and Dana Holgerson, their weekly get-together on the Big 12 conference call. But we would be remiss if we didn't mention the absolute craziness, obviously, that went on in the college football world again this weekend. The previous 2 weekends, we had Michigan State on the botched punt. Then we had Georgia Tech and Florida State on the blocked field goal return. And then it looked maybe like you had another one of those with Miami and Duke on Saturday. And obviously an 8 lateral play that was recorded as a touchdown after a 9-minute review by the replay folks. And then it came out that the ACC has said, wait a second. Are people that spent time on the field to adjudicate the play, and then those who spent 9 minutes reviewing the play, they absolutely just, I almost said something.
They gacked it.
Yeah, they gacked the bed. How about that? They just gacked the bed on that one. And so they came out and said, hey, here's the deal. And here's 2 things I like. Number one, I like this. I don't like to see people get in trouble, but I like the fact that they suspended the officiating crew and the replay official and the communicator for 2 games. I do like that because I think that it holds it will force officials across the country to hold themselves to an even higher level. And I truly believe they have the absolute right mindset, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I really, truly do. They try to make things as right as possible. But I think it even raises the bar even more now. Even more when you start publicly saying, guess what? That whole crew, 2 games. Forever, those guys are going to have the scarlet letter. Forever. Seriously. If they last in the future, those are always going to be, hey, he was on that crew. Right?
Yeah.
We had that here in 92 with Syracuse. John Sophie's crew. Like every time they would come back in, that's the crew that screwed West Virginia in the Syracuse game. So you got that. So they're not trying to screw it up, but I think it was good that the league publicly just came out and said, okay. But now the other part of it is people saying, well, wait a second, give Miami the victory, or give Duke the victory. And you, in all rights, right? You just say, wait a second. You just said the guy's knee touchdown. You just said it was blocking back. You just said the whole thing. Why not give him the win? Which makes sense. But the rule is you can't change the score once they go off the field, right? West Virginia saw that in basketball back in the mid-1980s, the basketball game against St. Joe's. They tried to change the score once West Virginia was in the locker room and walked off the floor as the winner, and then they knocked on dirt. Coach Catlett, need to talk to you. Yep. What do you got? Well, we got to take the points off. You didn't win the game. And that went over real well. That was a Saturday, and by Monday, or maybe Monday, they said, no, actually, West Virginia still gets a win. You can't change the score after they walk off the field. So my point is, yeah, it sucks, and they have to probably change that rule for the future.
Yeah, I think some changes may be coming.
Yeah, need to change it.
Because here's the thing. You miss stuff on the field. What's replay for? Replay's got to catch it. And I'll go one step further. Did you see what the ACC did today? They have to be taunting Duke, right? They're taunting them. This isn't real what they did.
One of the greatest bonehead plays of all time.
So they admit yesterday via this memo that has 4 bullet points on it detailing all of the mistakes this crew made. It's clear Miami doesn't win that game without those screw-ups, right? So by all counts, Miami shouldn't have won the game. Okay, fine. If you got to leave it with Miami, that's what you did. Today, the ACC comes out and names the kid for Miami that scored the touchdown. They named him Special Teams Player of the Week, is what the ACC did after admitting they had all those problems and it shouldn't have gone Miami's way. They give the Special Teams Player of the Week to the kid from Miami. Now, is that real? Are they for real? Nobody's checking that. No one's standing up in the office saying, hold on, can I raise a point here? Maybe we shouldn't do that. Is there anybody, any punter that averaged 40 yards a kick? Something. Someone else has to get the award. Why are they giving it to the Miami kid? Can you help me? Help me with that. That's a joke, right? They're kidding. They just taunting? They're trolling, as the kids say?
You don't think they should have done that?
Well, what do you mean? Do I think they should? No, because they already said the play really shouldn't even have stood because our crew screwed up. But guess what? Here's the plaque. Here's the award. Congratulations on your Player of the Week.
You know what I was trying to do? I was trying to look up the kid's stats, which I just found to say, well, wait, because he did this and he did that. But his whole stats on the whole game were 3 returns for 87 yards, long of 91 with a touchdown.
So did he go backwards on the other ones? I mean, what? That stunned me.
All right.
That stunned me. Maybe somebody can help. If they know why, send me a tweet at BradHowe07. Clear that up.
All right, really quick here. Final week of the high school football regular season. The MetroNews Power Rankings out. Class Single A, Magnolia 1, Wheeling Central 2, Buffalo 3, East Hardy 4, Moorfield 5, Double A, Bridgeport 1, Bluefield 2, Tulsa 3, Mingo Central 4, Fairmont Senior 5, Triple A, Cabell Midland 1, Wheeling Park 2, Point Pleasant 3, Martinsburg 4, and Capital 5. Bunch of stuff to get into. When we come back, Alan Taylor, his thoughts on the Mountaineers as the Northside Automotive Statewide Sportsline returns.
Have you ever wondered just who are the Friends of Coal? Well, there are 50,000 West Virginia families who support the state's coal industry, and they look a lot like you. Honest, hardworking, good neighbors who want a future for themselves and their state. They're coal miners, housewives, school teachers, mechanics, doctors, college professors, pizza delivery guys, your friends. The Friends of Coal know and understand the importance of the coal industry to our state's economy. They know about the 60,000 jobs the coal industry creates in our state. They know about the $25 billion the industry pumps into our economy. And they know that without coal, our state would face an economic catastrophe. Come to think of it, that sounds like most West Virginians. Let Congress know you are a proud West Virginian and you are a friend of coal.
Coal is West Virginia.
The field of corrections is fast-growing and full of opportunities for advancement. Right now, the West Virginia Division of Corrections has openings for male and female correctional officers throughout the state. If you have a high school diploma or GED and can pass a drug test, visit wvdoc.com to see job listings and apply. These are state jobs with great benefits and an accelerated hiring process to get you on your way quickly. Visit wvdoc.com today. An equal opportunity employer.
This Saturday, the West Virginia Mountaineers return home for a matchup with the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Join the MetroNews Game Day crew starting at 9 a.m. for the Jeep Golden Blue Countdown. Then at 10, it's the Sports Brunch, followed by Game Line at high noon. Post-game coverage begins at 3 with the Golden Blue Wrap-Up presented by the West Virginia Oil and Natural Gas Association, followed by the Point After. Don't miss game day coverage at its best here on MetroNews, the voice of West Virginia. The Northside Automotive statewide Sportsline returns in 2 minutes. On MetroNews. For 30 years, the voice of West Virginia.
Almost there. Just 5 more minutes. Almost home.
Statistics show that 80% of auto fatalities occur close to home on rural roads.
Cops.
That's why law enforcement is stepping up rural patrols and cracking down on impaired driving. If you are over the limit, you are under arrest because drinking and driving don't mix. Remember, over the limit, under arrest. This message brought to you by the Governor's Highway Safety Program.
To navigate any map, you need a legend celebrating the most awarded SUV lineup ever. Jeep Cherokee 2015 Four-Wheeler of the Year. Jeep Grand Cherokee, the most awarded SUV ever. And introducing Jeep Renegade, the most capable small SUV ever. Now get an additional $500 bonus cash at the Jeep Celebration event. Get 0% financing for 72 months or $3,500 total cash allowance on the 2015 Jeep Cherokee Limited.
When something is missing from the picture, it doesn't make sense. Without the right people, your work site is just a site. Your office is just a space. Let's Train West Virginia has grant funding for on-the-job training in today's in-demand careers. Workers learn while they earn, and companies can be reimbursed up to $10,000 per eligible new hire. So qualified employees and satisfied employers complete the picture. Learn more at letstrainwv.com.
Welcome back in, everybody. Monday night edition, Northside Automotive Statewide Sportsline.
Springsteen.
No, it's not. Very good. Very good. It's not. That's great. Everyone always thought this was like the next Springsteen. Well, kind of thought he was like JV of Springsteen. The Southside Johnny. Southside Johnny and the Asbury Jukes. But a guy grew up in Alabama would never know that. I mean, you're listening to Skinner and that kind of stuff. This is more Northeast for you. I-95 corridor stuff.
I sacrificed a lot of stuff growing up there.
I know. You wouldn't get this part of it. But yeah, a lot of people thought he was like the next Spring. Well, no, I shouldn't say next Springsteen. He's very similar sounding. Anyway, Alan Taylor, WVMetroNews.com, joins us. The senator is with us as well. AT, Senator and I are on the same accord. Yes, West Virginia was 3-0. Yes, West Virginia is 3-4. Yes, West Virginia can win its next 5 games. Where do you stand? Although you're sitting on the issue.
I stand where I sit on this, which is I agree, but I think I wrote today that if they don't go 4-1 over this final 5-game stretch, that's a very bad deal. Not just getting bowl eligible in this day and age means bupkis. I mean, there's going to be some 5 and 7 teams in the bowl games this year. If you start reading Jerry Palms, there's 80 spots. So West Virginia might go 5 and 7 and get into a bowl game, but that shouldn't be the criteria. The only thing that sticks out about October was lose the games, understandable, but be competitive at some point. And I don't want to hear, well, they were within 7 of Oklahoma in the third quarter, so they were in it. I'm like, you lost by 20. And then they weren't competitive against TCU and really weren't competitive against Baylor. So that's the bare minimum. That's what Kansas goes into a game thinking. Maybe try to be competitive. And you don't want to measure yourself against that.
With that being said, Senator, he didn't say the MW word, must win, but he thinks that the Texas Tech contest.
No, I did. I didn't say it right here. I've said it earlier.
But you have already said that? Okay.
Yeah.
I think he's contractually obligated to say
Yeah,
it.
that one's definitely. Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I just want to be on record. I get told that I say that a lot when I don't, but I am saying it on this.
He is.
Gotta win.
He has signed a contract with Must Win Incorporated.
Must Win Production.
All right. So what's your take? So what is your take? So the unknown on this situation is this: you just literally did play you played 4 teams that are 30-1. And now you're going to play teams that are what? Did you say 14 and
14 and 26.
14 and 26. So, can this team right itself? Can this team mentally find its bounce that it had in its first 3 weeks?
I think so, and you'll know this week, because if this week doesn't pan out that way, then you might have a real problem over the final 5 weeks, because there's not a lot to play for at this point. If you get right down to it, you're playing for the difference of maybe going from the Advocare Texas Bowl to maybe the Liberty again, to maybe the Alamo Bowl. So you're playing for the difference of what, Phoenix or San Antonio, 7, 8, 9 wins. There's no conference championship on the line. But seniors know that everything they do is on tape, and so the NFL is going to be looking at that. So that's a point of pride. But when you start playing for I don't want to say for yourself, but even pride, trying to make the NFL like you, that's a different construct than playing for the team. So, I don't know. One thing that troubled me about October is multiple times we heard Tony Gibson, and to some degree I think Dana even alluded to it, they didn't see the energy they wanted. Well, if you're not going to have the energy maxed out for Oklahoma and Baylor and TCU, you expect me to think you're going to have that energy maxed out for Texas Tech, Iowa State, and Kansas? I mean, I know there's degrees of how energetic you can be. Sometimes 90% gets you through the day, but when this team has played well before the Baylor game last year, it was always about, man, they were 110. They were max levels, and you didn't see that through October. You didn't even see that against Oklahoma State because they started slow.
Well, the 2 Oklahomas
came back.
They started slow against the 2 Oklahomas.
All four in that stretch. If you go back and look, they've started slow.
Well,
overall.
Baylor, they matched touchdowns with Baylor on their opening possession, right? And TCU, no.
TCU
got down 17-0.
Yeah.
So, but
and 1.7 yards per carry in the first quarter against a really soft, inexperienced defense.
That's what's discouraging. That TCU defense. When we were walking into the stadium, nice TCU people, very nice, and they see that we're wearing the opposing team's colors. And they say, hey, what's going on? Welcome, TCU. Have a great game out there. Now take it easy on our defense.
Yeah,
I mean,
that was
their
disappointing.
Concern. That was their concern. They're going like, hey, man, take it easy on our defense. They feel good about their offense, but take it easy on our defense. I said, yes, sir, we'll take care of that.
Here's some stats real quick. Against OU, West Virginia down 24-7 at the half. Against Oklahoma State, down 17-2 at the half. Baylor, 17-7 at the end of one. TCU, 17-0 at the end of one. So that's when we talk slow starts. I mean, you got to pick that up. Alan, do you think, could I make the argument that I'm with you on the margins of defeat for the last 4, specifically the 3 road games? Average margin of defeat was 25. Can we make the case that over these next 5, we're actually going to learn more about this West Virginia program, and this is what's needed to get to the next step before you can contend for a conference title, which West Virginia's a long way from that right now? This program has to show it can beat the teams it is supposed to beat regularly and when it comes up. And that's what we're dealing with here. We're dealing with 5 teams that just aren't very good. To take the next step as a program, you got to beat those teams you should beat. Is that fair? Unfair?
I think it's fair to a degree because West Virginia is lumped in with that 5 through 7 sort of category, maybe 5 through 9 in the Big 12 They're not good enough to even be in the discussion of the top 4, and they're not Kansas, so they're in the middle. But let's say that happens.
What, win all 5?
Win all 5 or go 4-1 and, have a heartbreaking loss. Just do enough. You're doing it with a bunch of guys who aren't going to be here next year. There's still a bunch of seniors playing, and even if they go out and rally and do what seniors are supposed to do, you're still scrapping it and starting with a fresh crew, at least on defense next year. Now, the offense has got everybody back. So I would say yes for the offense, establishing it, getting ready for 2017, showing what you can do. The defense, man, you're not seeing those guys playing as of yet. You're seeing more trickling in because of attrition, but half this team is gone because they're seniors. This was supposed to be their year to shine, and that part's out of the window. But offensively, you probably got everybody except Marquise Lucas, and I contend Wendell Smallwood might not have a reason to come back next year if he's playing so well right now. But everybody else is definitely back. So offensively, yes.
Alan Taylor, WEV, MetroNews.com, joins us. What's your sense in talking in the locker room after the game as to where the team's head is?
It gets a little bit repetitive after that same stretch of games where they, we thought we were going to do better. We didn't think we were going to make these mistakes. The one fresh comment coming out of this was what we've already beat the dead horse on, was Wendell Smallwood saying, I watched tape of them against Texas Tech. I watched tape of TCU against K-State. I was convinced we were going to score points, and I cannot believe we did not do that. And I think that was the shock. I think everybody on that West Virginia offense thought minimum they were going to put up 28, 35 and be in some sort of shootout game.
You know what didn't get enough pub in this game? Skylar Howard throwing some beautiful deep balls, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's had his inconsistencies this season. I mean, he dropped 4 dimes in.
Mm-hmm.
Dropped 4 dimes in. And I'm not saying that would have changed the outcome, but it certainly would have made it a tremendously competitive game had you made those catches. Changes the whole complexion.
Because it's a competitive game at halftime. It's maybe close to being a tied game at halftime. That opens up the running game more in the third quarter. But yeah, you're looking at. I know 2 of those were on the same drive, so I'm not going to duplicate those. But that's 4 touchdowns that were there for the taking and 190 something yards that would have doubled his output. So his stat line looked horrible, but it wasn't that bad.
And this team, as we know, isn't good enough offensively to overcome those moments. It has to hit those big plays when it comes. And I know Skylar gets the blame on those stats, but that's one of the things you look at. Through the first 3 games, he's clipping along at a 69% completion percentage. Now over the last 4, that has dipped under 50% down to 48%. That just simply has to get better. Again, not just on him, but receivers, pass protection, the whole deal.
Mm-hmm. And I only remember a couple of, even having rewatched the game, a couple of throws that he made where he wasn't really set well. One, he might have even been throwing away to Wendell Smallwood in the flat, but his mechanics to me look like they've come a long way from the problems that he was having early in the season, even when he was doing well against those bad defenses. And let's boil it down. I mean, those first 3 games are sort of fool's gold at this point. Even if Georgia Southern winds up 9-3, they're still just an okay team. So, take it for what it's worth.
I had a thought this weekend after going through those 4 games and then seeing what happened with Iowa State beating Texas and the like, and Oklahoma State scoring 700 on Texas Tech. I think more tonight that the Big 12 won't have a team in the college football playoff is more of a likelihood than I have all season long. I thought they would get one in, but Baylor loses its quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
They're saying all the right things right now. He's going to be ready to go. His next guy steps up, yada, yada, yada. TCU's got defensive issues. Oklahoma might win the league, and maybe not go.
Yeah.
That could happen.
Well, and I think you have to be careful, too, given those stats I just showed you. You've got to be careful from a Big 12 perspective. What's the in-league strength of schedule going to look like by the end of the year? Because we're really just now getting into it in November. Those top 4 teams are going to start playing each other now. Up to this point, they haven't played anybody either. Mm-hmm. So that could become an issue, Tony, as well. Never mind losses coming. Just if you have an Oklahoma with 1 loss, and they do have the win on the road at Tennessee, can you get past a Texas loss for Oklahoma? And then you're going to say, well, what other good wins do you have? Your league wins weren't that good. That could happen. It's a lot of coulds. But
I think it was week 2 or week 3. I predicted that there's going to be a 2-loss champion in the Big 12, which would obviously be a tie. And I still think that can mathematically happen, especially with Texas wrecking Oklahoma's perfect season. You could have 2 or 3 these teams beat up each other and each lose a couple.
MetroNews' Alan Taylor, thanks so much for the time. Mr. Rogers called while we were on, says he'd like his sweater back. And if you could get that back in time there, it'd be good.
Does he want his slippers?
And to keep his slippers.
Right,
hey, folks, and I know you're going out deer hunting here pretty soon, and this word from the West Virginia Department of Natural Resources, West Virginia's buck firearms season is almost here. And are you ready, Mr. and Mrs. Hunter, for electronic game checking? All you have to do is go to wvhunt.com, a division of the DNR, or get a licensed agent to get you a permanent DNR ID number, and then you're all set. You'll need the ID number when you check that deer in by phone, computer, or at a licensed agent. So here's that website, wvhunt.com, and that is the way that you can electronically game check your deer. Just by chance last night, I was on Facebook. Don't spend a whole lot of time on Facebook. Some guy posted some video of boar hunting, where these guys were boar hunting.
Where were they?
I don't know where they were. They were all over the place, and these boar go after the hunters, and I mean, they rip them. I mean, these guys got gashes in their legs. I mean, just fights. I mean, the guy's coming with a bow, and this thing's coming, boar's coming right at him, and he's rearing back. Boom! He lets it go and misses, and that's over. That boar comes at him and just crushes him.
So
That's good hunting.
So you're
I like
saying
that.
if you're boar hunting, don't miss? Is that what you're saying?
Oh,
you got
man.
problems?
See, I've always said if I hunted, that I want something that could run after me because it would give me more motivation to kill it. Like deer, what are they going to do? Like they look at you and go, I need something that's going to snort and say, I'm going to get you with my tusks. I'm coming after you and gouge you.
Yeah,
you feel better when you lay it out.
You'd be good at that.
Tony prefers fight over flight. I like that.
I prefer a machine gun. Anyway, 638 Northside Automotive Statewide Sports Line. Don Nealon will join us in just a little bit. AT, thank you.
You bet, buddy.
We're back with more right after these. Men spend more time each day looking at themselves than women. Well, believe that study or not, the point is we all want to look our best all the time. Well, the same holds true for businesses. We judge businesses, in fact, by their look. At Pikewood Creative, we produce videos and commercials that make businesses look their very best. And you know what? It improves their business. They get more customers and clients. If you'd like your business to look better, then check us out at pikewoodcreative.com.
To navigate any map, you need a legend like the capable Jeep Cherokee, 4-Wheeler Magazine's 2015 4-Wheeler of the Year, and Jeep Grand Cherokee, the most awarded SUV ever, with best-in-class 30 mpg highway and 730-mile driving range. So you can push even farther into uncharted and unmapped territory. Get a great deal on the most awarded and legendary SUV lineup ever at the Jeep Celebration event. Right now, purchase and get 0% financing for 72 months or $3,500 total cash allowance on the 2015 Jeep Cherokee Limited. The Jeep SUV lineup has received more awards in its lifetime than any other competitive SUV lineup. EPA estimated 4x2 with available EcoDiesel V6 and 24.6-gallon fuel tank. 0% APR financing for 72 months equals $13.89 per month per $1,000 financed for well-qualified buyers regardless of down payment when financed through Chrysler Capital. Residency restrictions apply. Take retail delivery by 11/2. Jeep is a registered trademark of FCA US LLC.
The Northside Automotive Statewide Sports Line returns in 2 minutes. On Metro News. For 30 years, the voice of West Virginia.
Almost there. Just 5 more minutes. Almost home.
Statistics show that 80% of auto fatalities occur close to home on rural roads.
Cops.
That's why law enforcement is stepping up rural patrols and cracking down on impaired driving. If you are over the limit, you are under arrest because drinking and driving don't mix. Remember, over the limit, under arrest. This message brought to you by the Governor's Highway Safety Program.
navigate any map, you need a legend celebrating the most awarded SUV lineup ever. Jeep Cherokee 2015 Four-Wheeler of the Year. Jeep Grand Cherokee, the most awarded SUV ever. And introducing Jeep Renegade, the most capable small SUV ever. Now get an additional $500 bonus cash at the Jeep Celebration event. Get 0% financing for 72 months or $3,500 total cash allowance on the 2015 Jeep Cherokee Limited.
When something is missing from the picture, it doesn't make sense. Without the right people, your work site is just a site. Your office is just a space. Let's Train West Virginia has grant funding for on-the-job training in today's in-demand careers. Workers learn while they earn, and companies can be reimbursed up to $10,000 per eligible new hire. So qualified employees and satisfied employers complete the picture. Learn more at letstrainwv.com.
Some people say he looks like Robert Redford. Other people just call him a matinee idol. We just call him Coach. Winningest coach in Mountaineer football history. Don Nealon joins us in studio. Good evening to you, Coach. How are you, buddy?
You know, Tony, I can never wait to get here because I just wonder what the devil you're going to say next.
Well, truth be told, Coach, I'd like to know what I am going to say next to it. It just kind of rolls out there sometimes. Coach, every week when you come in here after we watch football on Saturday, we talk about crazy, wild plays 3 weeks in a row. And this week, of course, it's Miami and Duke, and those Hurricanes are given the win. And you had to go to bed Saturday night thinking, those no-good so-and-sos stole one from me in 1996. Because, yes, the punt did get blocked in 96, but no one ever remembers that there was an illegal forward lateral of the ball from Mack to Jack Hallman, who scored it.
Hey, man.
So, anyway, I guess, you know what? I think this just only helps college football. Just the craziness, the bizarreness makes people, like, watch every week and say, something's got to happen.
I mean, can you imagine they had 8 laterals? and I know that kid's knee touched the ground. But, you know, those daggone officials get caught up in that stuff, too.
Mm-hmm. That's what we're saying.
Oh,
yeah.
They get caught up in it, and they're saying, what the devil's going on? And they forget to look at the stuff they're supposed to look at. Because, you know, they become victims just like anyone else. And holy criminy, Miami, amazing, just amazing stuff.
Did you ever practice laterals like that?
Oh, yeah. We never did it early until somebody did it, and we said, you know, maybe we ought to practice that once in a while. Oh, the kids love to do that. They're throwing it over, you know, they're acting crazy, throwing it over their head and behind their back and everything else. But, yeah, we practiced it. Not a whole lot, but we practiced it.
One of the all-time great coaches in the game's history announces his retirement yesterday, and Frank Beamer, a guy that you opposed across the sideline for many, many years. End of an era, isn't it, Coach, as far as I think personally we're seeing younger coaches out there now, a new wave of type of a coach out there. He was in your class. He was old school in the way that he learned how to play the game.
Yeah, Frank is, you know, he's the kind of guy, Tony, you want coaching. Super guy. You know, I don't know how many, I don't know any of those Virginia Tech kids, but I guarantee you he had a great effect on most all of them. He was a super guy. I really liked him. You know, Tony, what he did for me, and I think it's amazing. When I retired, they had a party for me in Beckley, and Virginia Tech's playing basketball. Frank Beamer got in his car and drove to Beckley to be at that banquet to speak on my behalf. And that just tells you something about the guy. He's super, and we always, you know, he and I were both with that Nike group, and we'd spend a lot of time on that 1 week vacation we would have, and we always enjoyed playing each other. You know, early he had a lot of problems, and then he ran into 2 number 1 round draft picks in a row at quarterback, and got that thing humming pretty good, and he's kept it going. And you got to give him a lot of credit. The other thing he was able to do, Tony, is he kept continuity on his coaching staff. And that tells you something about him also. You know, he didn't have guys running out every week on him. So he treated them properly, I'm sure of that, and made them feel important. So, yeah, the game's losing a great guy in Frank Beamer, I guarantee you that.
From a X's and O's standpoint, he'll be known for defense and special teams.
Right.
Those were the basics, weren't they, for him?
Yeah, whenever you played them, man, when you punted the football, you better be able to make sure you could block them all. And about the time you thought they were all coming, they were setting up a return on you. But, yeah, he always did a great job with special teams, and his defense was a little unorthodox. It was kind of like playing a team that on offense ran the wishbone. You only had a week to try to figure out what was going on, and his defense was kind of unorthodox.
Talk us through what that's like, because you did something similar. You announced your retirement with some games to go, and then obviously the craziness starts around you. Were you able to tune that out, all the talk about your career and what it was about in the press conferences, and just get back to the coaching? Or has that become even harder because now the distractions kind of ramp up because you know you're coming down to the final few games?
Yeah, well, you know, like I tried to make sure my players understood, hey, this isn't about me. This is still your team.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was just part of it. And, you know, you try to handle it the best you can. You know, I forget how I handled it, to be honest about it, but I must have got through it. I'm still here, Brad. So
You did. You went out on the road there and you beat Rutgers. If you remember, Phil Braxton made a catch, sent the game to overtime. That was your 200th win.
Third and long. Wasn't it like 3rd and 21?
Yeah, it was super long.
Yeah.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
Truth be told, if they had replay, that wouldn't have caught. But anyway, that was just.
Might not have been enough evidence to overturn.
Yeah, maybe not.
They ruled it a catch on the field.
That's right.
All right, give me your thoughts on the world champion Mountaineers after watching them on Saturday. I should say Thursday.
Yeah, well, you know, Tony, it's you know, you can look at it two ways. You can look at the score and say, oh my gosh, we're lousy, we're no good, and all this crap. Or you can look at it and say, holy crap, and if we catch the football, we're right in the game. And you know, why those kids, you know, it's the same old story. They just drop the football. They're young guys. They do things that you don't want them to do. And, you know, you have to give our little quarterback, I mean, he dropped the ball right in their hands.
Mm-hmm.
And we dropped the thing, and consequently it cost us big time. But, you know, like I say, we got every game on our schedule now is very winnable. So now this is the true test of our football team. You know, Tony, not many teams have, that I know of have been asked to play Oklahoma, Baylor, and TCU, all top football teams, all on the road. That's a tough job. I remember when we opened up with Oklahoma, and then we came home and played a really, really good Maryland team. Now, I don't remember who was after that game, but I know that was the two really tough teams that we opened up with. But, you know, Dana's had that's murder. Like that guy on television said, hey, the Big 12 never did West Virginia any favors in scheduling. I'm going to tell you that.
There's no question about that.
And it was tough. So, you know, now we got to regroup. And Texas Tech, I watch this team play. I'm saying, you got to be kidding me. It is absolutely, I just shake my head.
What do you mean by that?
I'm not sure. I watch these guys play, and the score, you know, they get ahead 18 or 20 or something. Nothing. I told Marianne they're going to get beat 56-54. I missed it. But I mean, can you imagine that?
They look at times defensively as if they're not even trying to tackle.
I mean, unbelievable. But I think we're going to have to score 35 points to beat them.
Oh yeah.
Or maybe even 40. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because they seem like they're really hot early, and then they kind of peter out, or whatever that is.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting.
The great Don Nealon with us in the studio. Need to take our final break. We'll take it back with more right after these. Stay with us.
When you drive impaired in West Virginia, you break the law and endanger the lives of others. Law enforcement across the state is committed to keeping impaired drivers off the road. If you drive impaired, be prepared to pay the price. There are consequences. It's simple, West Virginia. Drive sober or get pulled over.
All Medicare eligible individuals. It's time for open enrollment. Take advantage of the health plan's Medicare plans with benefits such as Silver Sneakers gym membership, an extensive list of doctors and hospitals. Contact us 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week at 1-877-847-7915 or visit healthplan.org/Medicare. This information is not a complete description of benefits. Contact the plan for more information. Limitations, copayments, and restrictions may apply. Benefits and/or copayments, coinsurance may change on January 1 of each year.
Thursday nights on Metro News, it's Mountain East Conference football. This Thursday, the Shepherd University Rams visit the Fairmont State University Fighting Falcons. And Metro News brings you all the action. Join Travis Jones and Rasheed Marshall for the call of the game starting at 7. Don't miss Division II football at its best as the Falcons take on the Rams. On Mountain East Conference Thursday night football from Metro News and WVMetroNews.com. The Northside Automotive statewide Sportsline returns in 2 minutes. On Metro News. For 30 years, the voice of West Virginia.
Almost there. Just 5 more minutes. Almost home.
Statistics show that 80% of auto fatalities occur close to home on rural roads.
Cops.
That's why law enforcement is stepping up rural patrols and cracking down on impaired driving. If you are over the limit, you are under arrest because drinking and driving don't mix. Remember, over the limit, under arrest. This message brought to you by the Governor's Highway Safety Program.
To navigate any map, you need a legend. Celebrating the most awarded SUV lineup ever. Jeep Cherokee, 2015 Four-Wheeler of the Year. Jeep Grand Cherokee, the most awarded SUV ever. And introducing Jeep Renegade, the most capable small SUV ever. Now get an additional $500 bonus cash at the Jeep Celebration event. Get 0% financing for 72 months or $3,500 total cash allowance on the 2015 Jeep Cherokee Limited.
When something is missing from the picture, it doesn't make sense. Without the right people, your work site is just a site. Your office is just a space. Let's Train West Virginia has grant funding for on-the-job training in today's in-demand careers. Workers learn while they earn, and companies can be reimbursed up to $10,000 per eligible new hire. So qualified employees and satisfied employers complete the picture. Learn more at letstrainwv.com.
Welcome back in, everybody. Northside Automotive Statewide Sportsline. Tony Caridi with the Senator Brad Howe. Coach Nealon is with us. And a reminder that West Virginia's Buck firearm season's almost here. If you're ready for electronic game check and they're ready for you, go to WVHunt.com. That's WVHunt.com. And you can get an ID number. And so when you check that big deer by phone, computer, or at a licensed agent, it'll be all set up. So go to WVHunt.com. Alrighty, coming up, Coach Nealon and Bob Pruitt and Dave Weekley will be together at 7:06 this evening for the Coach Nealon, Bob Pruitt show. You know, something always happens. This weekend it was J.T. Barrett, the Ohio State quarterback.
Unbelievable.
Drinking and driving. I mean, it's never ending. And I guess it never will end, right? I guess it never will end. You know, I know, they go in there, starts of seasons, throughout the season. They have people come in and talk to these kids and say, hey, here's how this whole thing works.
Yeah.
And a kid just, like, pees away such a great opportunity.
And, Tony, this kid was elected captain and then gets his job back as the starter and then goes out and gets drunk and picked up. Figure it. And then the police give him a misdemeanor. Yeah. I guess misdemeanors are different in Columbus than they are other places. I don't know.
Is that the hardest part to deal with for a coach, that you just don't know what's going to happen when you shut the lights out at night?
Oh, yeah. It drives you crazy. when the phone rings at midnight, you go, oh no. Oh no!
Here comes Mike Karen on the phone. What's he got for me, right?
Yeah. Mike, I don't want to hear it. Tell me in the morning, Mike. At least let me sleep. And oh yeah, and it's what, Tony, it's everywhere. It was at Michigan, it was at Bowling Green, it was at Cincinnati. Didn't matter where I coached. The only thing changes is the color of the jersey. Other than that, kids are kids and they do dumb things.
Phil Villapiano played for you at Bowling Green, right?
Yeah.
Did you get any phone calls when he was playing for you?
He almost ran my phone bill up. Phil was unbelievable, unbelievable. And, his dad was a good friend of mine, and this kid, we gave this kid a board. Bob Gibson was the head coach, and he wanted me to evaluate this kid. Well, the photographer, I could tell more about their trees than I could Phil Villapiano. But I said to Gibby, hey, Gib, a board? I mean, it was like June. I said, who cares if he can play? If he can't play, he'll run back to New Jersey anyhow. Holy criminy, could he play.
Now, when you say board, you're talking about your place to live. That's what all he wanted. It was not a full scholarship, but give him a place to live. Pay for his boarding.
Right. He had to pay for his room and his schooling. And we bought him his meals.
And he shows up, and all of a sudden you went,
yeah.
What? For those that don't know, he was a great NFL player. Phil Villapiano played
12, 13 years.
Yeah.
All pro. And he was a guy that was a great kid, but ornery as cat dirt. And, I'd say, Gus, what am I going to do with that kid of yours? Coach, just kill him. Just smack him around. And I said, I've already smacked him. It doesn't seem to help. But Phil was... I'll never forget, I kicked him off the team. I had the guy, our equipment man, take all of his equipment. And I'm at practice, and here comes the dean of students walking toward me. And I'm saying to myself, oh no, who was with him? And the dean of students was Ray Whitaker, and a good friend of mine, naturally, because I went to school there. He says, Don, you won't believe this, but that fight last night was not caused by Villapiano. He absolutely tried to break it up because I had heard he got in another fight and I was sick of him. And of course I was happy to hear that. He's by far my best player. So he said, I'm telling you right now, he did nothing wrong. And that was the last time Phil ever got in trouble. It was amazing.
It. You brought him to the brink. He thought he was done. You finally.
Yeah. Oh, he did. He came to practice. Everything was gone. I'd had it with the guy. And that's a true story.
Yeah,
Ray Whitaker walked right out on the practice field.
And off he went to a Pro Bowl career. Coach, thanks so much for being with us. Bob Pruitt, Don Nealon, Dave Weekly coming up on many of these same stations at 7:06. Again, check out our website, noshavewv.com. That's noshavewv.com. Check it out. We're out. Talk to you again tomorrow.
The Northside Automotive Statewide Sportsline has been an exclusive presentation of the MetroNews Radio Network. Copyright 2015. All rights reserved.